G'day guys, kia ora, hui dag. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, we've got a lot to talk about this week, so let's get started. First of all, South Africans. Let's talk about the. There's quite a bit of chat for quite some time now, both in social media and the news, about how the South African teams has been playing too much rugby. My goodness, I thought you guys love rugby. What are you complaining about, right? Apparently, it's for player welfare reasons. The South African players, if you look at their scheduling, the URC literally starts in November and then it goes all the way to just July, and then you play the July Test Series, and then you go on to play the Rugby Championship in August to October, and then you play you have a tiny bit of time off maybe, and then you play the November Test Series, and then back into URC you go, right? So you're literally playing all year round. Sounds like a dream to me, but hey, apparently that's, for player welfare reasons, you can't really do that. So there's some talks about, scheduling changes and whatnot. So the latest talk is potentially that the South African teams can drop out of the European Champions Cup. So obviously you've got the URC, and then you got the European Champions Cup as an additional competition during the URC season, to kind of like for the players to participate in. Now the problem with the Champions Cup is it's played addition to the URC games. So like if you participate, it's if you take out the Champions Cup games, most of the players are still gonna be playing the URC games. It's not really gonna be that much time off for the teams. It's gonna be maybe a tiny, the B team's gonna be some time off. Essentially, the A team are just gonna be taking over the role of the B team back into the URC schedule, right? So it's not really going to be that much time off, but you're just going to reduce some of the requirements of the club to hold a lot of, I guess, B team players on their what do you call it, on their payroll, essentially. So that's one thing that they were kind of considering. And obviously the other consideration is to move the Rugby Championship to February. That is aligned with the Six Nations, so that everybody can get some time off in August to October. And obviously there's this talk that they could just cancel the Rugby Championship, right? Like, just get rid of it. Yeah, great idea, guys. Get rid of the Rugby Championship. And South Africa can move to Europe and play in the Six Nations. And be great. Be great. Because South Africa, let's do that. And, let's just make sure that nobody ever wins a Rugby Championship ever again down in Southern Hemisphere. Will be great. Great idea, guys. But seriously, there's, a lot of talks. But, for me, I actually dug in a little bit in terms of, the actual workloads of the players. The top players in for South Africans are not actually that much more than what you expect from a top French player. Yeah, because Rassie Erasmus has done a really, really good job of having, the Springboks team and the Springboks B team participating in the same level throughout the year. So the two Springbok teams essentially taking away a lot of the game time from each other, and you actually don't have that much. Like it's not like some of the players are not actually playing that much more than what you would expect from a French team. They're not actually getting overworked. It's just that you have the South African teams has to hold more players to fill out like the extra URC games during Champions Cup. So it is been interesting because there's some of the talks about overworking the players. If you're actually going to have a look at some of the stats, Sasha Vanberg, 18 matches, so she had a bit of injury, I think. 19 matches, 14. He might get like 25 this year, 30 maybe, close to 30. And then if you look at some of the Manny Lebok, he's probably the one that's played the most. 16 last year, 28. That's probably a lot, on the upper end. 30. But like 30 is pretty much like the top end of it. But it's not crazily more than what do you expect from a French player. So if we look at Dupont, Antoine Dupont, if you look at Dupont, he's just hammering out 30 games every year, pretty much. He's injured this year, so that doesn't count. But look at that, 27, 29, 30, 27. So you get the idea. Like the very top end of the game time is about close to 30, around 30. And the South Africans aren't really like breaching that top end. because of how Rassi Rasmus has managed the squad. And so the argument that they're playing too much rugby, it's not really. I don't think that's quite true. But the time committed, around rugby, you could argue that it's too much, right? So you have to be in the squad and the Springboks for three months of the year, and even though you only get to play 5-6 games, but you're gonna be in the squad for 3 months, right? And then once you finish with the squad with the Springbok squad, you get into URC and you're gonna be committed to that another 7 months, right? Or like 7 or 9 months, and even though you don't play most of the time, you only play 15, 20 matches, but you're still gonna be committed to be on the job for the majority of the time. So you don't really have this long proper breaks where your body get healed up. That is an argument I could understand, right? But if that is in case indeed the logic behind this, that the body needs to have some time off to heal up, not just purely because of game time, intermittent game time, but it needs to have sustained longer rest. I don't think removing the European Champions Cup is going to do that. Like I said, it's played between the URC rounds. The players not going to having long, periods of rest anyway, if you're taking them out of the European Champions Cup. So yeah, it is interesting. It is something you have to think. People are talking about. There was also some talk about withdrawing from the July Test series for the Springboks, kind of like the French. You could actually do that. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the Rassi is pretty much doing that anyway, right? You could, by playing the the dreaded B team around the frequently to give players more breaks. But I think they can manage it. I don't think it's something that's, you definitely have to take yourselves out of the competition and really cancel the Rugby Championship or something like that and join the Six Nations. I think a lot of this logic is about financial and rather than actually giving players more resting time. So let me know your thoughts on this issue, how you feel about it. Just sticking to URC for a moment. Apparently there was a spitting incident on field between the accused against the Cats, right? The Cats. So apparently the flanker, I don't know, this guy Mahashe was accused of spitting, but they couldn't find any footage of him actually doing so. Speaking of URC as well, I only watched one URC game on the weekend, and that was Cardiff versus Stormers. My God, this was horrendous for the Stormers. Just choke city, man. Seriously, absolute choke city. Cardiff, it was kind of a bit of a joke because Cardiff had Halfpenny back in the team, and they literally had him on the bench for the entire game and put him on for the last 2 minutes to just give him a send-off. So Cardiff was playing with you could argue a handicap on the bench, right? Because they had a player on the bench that they didn't have any intention of using, but to just put him on for a bit of a send-off. So despite, even with the handicap, set up on the bench, the Stormers still couldn't do it. Still could not do it at all. So a little bit disappointed. I think if you're a Stormers fan, you'd be disappointed there as well. So yes, New Zealand Rugby has had a bit of an AGM this week, and then they released their financial statements for financial year 2025, which is last year. Quite interesting. So let's just they have increased their revenue, but their costs also going up. They have reduced their losses. But let's have a just look at the that's really nice picture. But let's just have a look at the financial statement and figure out what exactly is going on. So the top line, obviously, we've got the broadcasting rights. It's going down. Interesting. The broadcasting rights is going down for New Zealand Rugby here. I'm not sure if you can read them properly on the. Maybe I can just make this bigger, a little bit bigger. Just take myself out of the picture a little bit. Yeah, okay. You can just watch me here. So the broadcasting rights has gone down a little bit, but it is increased with the sponsorship licensing for the All Blacks. Increased from 125 million to 142 million. The match day is about the same, so it's a little bit same. So the sponsorship and licensing is a little bit interesting because they settled a lawsuit with one of the sponsors, Ionis or whatever his name is, one of the sponsors. Yeah, great sponsorship. I don't even know the company. I still can't remember which company the company name is, but there was a company that that a few like INS or whatever. I think it's an investment company that put out their deal, and the All Blacks basically sued them and got like a payment from them for putting out their deal. So that payment has gone into the sponsorship license. I believe has gone into the sponsorship licensing, but that payment has been included in their income this year. So then there was quite a bit, like $20 million or something. So you might have been included in the sponsorship and licensing. So if that was the case, then it's actually probably trending flat from last year. The sponsorship and licensing match day's gone up a little bit, so that's pretty good. So the turnout has been good. They've sold out a lot of the All Blacks tests, and one of the best things that they've done this, according to them, is putting the Irish game in America. Apparently made a lot of money, like 6 or 8 billion, like a lot of money, like millions of dollars, like 6 or 7 million or $8 million, quite a bit of money from that. So that is really, really good for them as well. So like quite a bit of interest income, but it's gone down from the year before. You know, the interest income obviously come from the money they got from the we'll see from what do you call it, from the Silver Lake deal. So a lot of the cash is being invested into like bonds and stuff. Managed fund fair value gain. So this is their investment. The investment they're talking about. It's interesting. They don't actually tell you what investments they've got. But yeah, there is some interesting financial instruments we're going to look at. But it doesn't really tell us what actually their investments are. So the investments has gained a bit of value here. $3.7 million in value. The derivative financial instruments, gaining derivative financial instruments. This is generally the hedging gains from foreign exchange. So this is basically the money that foreign exchange contracts they sold. So they made money from that, but that's generally offset. This is hedging. So if they make money from foreign exchange, they generally lose similar amounts of money from the depreciation of the New Zealand dollar. So this is not real gain. This is kind of like offsets itself, sort of speaking. The equity value of joint ventures is going up a bit. And then finally, fair value gain on compounding instruments and derivatives. This is also a really interesting one. This is going up from 2.9 million to 4.3 million. I had to look this up to see what it is, compound instrument derivatives, and turns out it's probably going to be a convertible bond. It's basically something that has like a debt portion and then equity conversion at the end of it. So a convertible bond. So basically you purchase bonds, and then at the end of the maturity of the bonds, you can turn that bond into stock. I don't know what this is. Again, they don't tell you what this actually is. It's actually quite popular these days with crypto scam, essentially. Like if you look at MicroStrategy with Michael Saylor, he basically issues convertible bonds to buy more Bitcoins, because the convertible bonds are issued at like 0% interest, and then you can turn that bond into stock. And then essentially he's cheating the market for money. But more and more that stopped to work. So I don't know what these convertible bonds are. They don't say, but hopefully it's not investing in some crypto. Hopefully they're not investing in convertible, buying MSTR crystal bonds or something. But that's gone up in value there. So total income, 304 million, going up from 285 million. Expenditures, game developments going up a bit, so reinvesting into the local clubs. Teams in black, this is the All Blacks, this is the salary. It's going up as well. 83.7 million to 86.6 million. Competition, this is basically like Super Rugby spending has gone up a tiny bit. 126 million to 129 million. Admin's pretty much flat. 28 million, 27.8 to 28.3, pretty much. For interest expense, has gone down a little bit, so they paid off a little bit of that debt. 12.2 million in interest payment last year, down to 11.449. Foreign exchange, ineffective hedge, so there's none because it's been cancelled out by the gains in derivatives. So it's like last year there was the derivative gains not there, so they paid off in that. It offsets itself. It's somewhere. I'm not. Yeah, you can look this up yourself. Transaction costs 30 whatever. Total expenditure still more than the earnings, but the earnings has gone up quite a bit to catch up. But the question here is, a lot of the increase in the problem here, I see, for the New Zealand Rugby, is that a lot of the increase in income comes from non-operating activities, right? Non-operating activity means like investing stuff, right? Like derivatives, this is not a guaranteed income. Like derivatives of financial instruments, this is not a this is not an actual investment. This is literally just like hedging against currency depreciation. So, they hedge the New Zealand dollar to stay in value. The New Zealand dollar crash in value. That's the money they've earned from the crash in value in New Zealand dollar, but it's not actual earnings. And this is completely like one-off. So like you can see last year, it's like non-existent. It could be that, it could be a loss, it could be anything. Like it's not a guaranteed return, and it's completely random based on the macroeconomic conditions of the world. So it's not something that you can actively make a decision to make money out of this, especially if you're New Zealand Rugby. Like for New Zealand, you shouldn't be anyway. So that's not a real guaranteed money. And then that's, again, changing derivatives. Again, that's like, bonds. And again, the managed fund value, again, that's from your investment. So yeah, a lot of these are investments and what do you call it? Like not guaranteed returns. So if you take these out, New Zealand Rugby's actual core business in terms of running, and also don't forget, some of the sponsorship money might be from a settlement, from the lawsuit from a previous sponsor pulling out. So if you take all of this out, the actual operation of the sport, it's not looking that great. It's not looking that great. And one of the biggest problem is that they also had that American gang where they earn extra money and they're selling our stadiums. So if you're selling our stadiums, if you're earning all this extra money by going to the America, and you are still shrinking in terms of your broadcasting rights, in terms of your actual earnings. It's not just the fact that it's shrinking, right? It's the fact that the cost of the players has gone up. Game day, game development has gone up a lot, whereas your core business is remaining flat, and then your real growth is from financial instruments, financial stuff, and not actual operating of the sport. Yeah, there could be a bit of problem coming up here for New Zealand Rugby, despite what the numbers say that it's trending toward the right direction. Yeah, so that's my my little assessments here, and it is really disappointing. They don't tell you what the investments are, and it looks like the investments has actually gone down from previous year, 125 million to 85 million. So that's not a good look there either. The cash and cash equivalent has gone down as well, so the money reserve is shrinking. But yeah, what else do I want to say here? That's pretty much it. The overall state of the thing. If I was to, if you were to ask me as an investment perspective, the core business of running the game of rugby is not looking great, and it's only looked better by the fact that some of their investments, whatever that is, we don't know, has done seemingly better, has done seemingly pretty well, right? So I would really like to see what the investments are and get a better understanding of what they are, especially some of these, compounding instrument derivatives. Are these convertible bonds? And if they are, what companies are you investing in for these convertible bonds, right? And the valuation of these convertible bonds could be a bit questionable sometimes. It depends on, depends on which companies are you investing in for these convertible bonds. So it is a bit of interesting. I think it's very interesting to look at, and I think that it's something, I think it's something that, what do you call it? Yeah, something that we've all, something that I don't think is as good as you might think it is. The way the numbers, if you just look at the top line numbers that's come out of the newspapers, right? Anyway, let's move on to the next bit. So yeah, this is going to be a review for Super Rugby. We'll talk about some of these issues from last week. So there's talk about how to make the game better. Some of the metrics they use. We're talking about the last week. But there was one interesting thing that I saw this week, that John Kerwin was talking about bringing back rivalry, tribalism and rivalry between the teams. I do think that's a big uphill battle for New Zealand Rugby. I do think that, based on my visit to New Zealand, there's a massive culture decay, rugby culture decay in New Zealand, right? There was, there's, the rivalry. You can't build a rivalry between two teams if the culture of the teams are to be slowly being stripped apart, right? one of the things that I talk about in Christchurch, you're not allowed to wear a team jersey into the bars in the city. Like, people were telling me that's because there's people starting up trouble and stuff. But like, that's you pay all the taxes for the policemen. It's to stop the people starting troubles, right? That's the jobs. That's the job of the policemen. But people, like good people that want to support their own teams, wants to wear the All Blacks jersey, they should be allowed to do so because that's why they pay you the tax, so that they can wear the All Black jersey. Not that you just ban everyone from wearing the All Black jersey and take the tax anyway, right? Like, it's preposterous. Like, there's a lot of like culture battles in New Zealand that's I think is really killing the game. And I think that just the fact that the Christ, the I've talked about this before, the Crusader logo, they've changed it to take out the Crusader in it. Like, you're capitulating to like a terrorist from Australia. By the way, the guy was an Aussie who committed terrorism in Christchurch, and you're capitulating to terrorism. Like, isn't that like that's literally you're literally like allowing terrorism to get to win, right? Like, it's like, if you're capitulating to the demands of terror, then terrorists win. Like, you can't do that. You have to you have to maintain your culture. You have to maintain the prestige, the stuff that means to the fans, to the people that watch the game. Bring back I've talked to a lot of people from Christchurch. They're disappointed by the removal of the Crusader guy in the logo. So there's a lot of this stuff that I think there's a cultural battle that New Zealand rugby will struggle a lot fighting an uphill game to get these sort of like rivalry going. And and one of the things that I thought was really, really crazy. So New Zealand rugby have official stores in New Zealand. I think they're called Rugby World or Rugby Planet or something. It's the official All Black stores, and they're in like prime real estate locations. Like, there was one in Queenstown, like in the main strip of Queenstown. Would have been a fortune to have a shop there, and it was like at the airports, a fortune to keep a shop there. And let me tell you something. They sell the rugby league merchandise at the Rugby Union All Black stores. The Warriors merchandise they sell in the stores. They're just literally paying all this overhead and make money for rugby league. Like, it's crazy how like the game is just being pulled apart just culturally from all parts of the all different parts of the game. And it's just crazy. Then even here in Australia as well, the club songs. Like, have you heard anyone singing club songs in Super Rugby at all ever? Like, like if you watch like a French game, or if you watch an English Premiership game, or even the URC games, they sing their club songs and they sing their team songs all throughout the game, right? To everybody's annoyance, this singing and all sorts of stuff going on, and none of that happens. I don't even know that does the Waratahs have a club song? Does the Crusaders have a club song that people sing? I don't even know. Right? Even at the like international test level, the Wallabies and and the All Blacks, I think this should be like the biggest rivalry in rugby in the world, right? This should be, but it is not, because it's poorly managed. Like, we don't sing Waltzing Matilda anymore, right? At the Wallabies, Wallabies games. I reckon if I'm Prime Minister, let me tell you something, guys. You want to get a citizenship, you need to be able to sing Waltzing Matilda, at least the first verse, right? At least you can be able to mumble the first verse of Waltzing Matilda if you wanted to get Australian citizenship. If you make me the Prime Minister, I'll make sure that happens, guys. But yeah, it's just stuff like that. It's a lot of little culture that's been like just degraded in New Zealand, and I think that's probably the biggest problem. If we want to my 2 cents on the issue. And there was one interesting thing I heard as well. According to one of the South African guy, what's his name, Victor Matfield. Apparently, there's having some issues in South Africa as well. Apparently there's like 20,000 people turning up to watch, a school rugby, high school first 15 games, and then the Bulls game are getting less than 20,000. So there's more people watching kids, right, playing rugby than the Bulls, right? Who says performance enhancement is a bad thing for making money? Right? Everybody knows performance enhancement makes money, but hey, you know, that's a little South African joke. But anyway, you know, anyway, so but yeah, apparently the Bulls were struggling, and yet the high schools are thriving and people are showing up more than the actual professional games. So again, it's the culture being degraded, I think, to some extent, maybe. There in South Africa, I don't know, I haven't been there yet, so I don't know. But in New Zealand, I can definitely feel the culture degrading, especially the rugby culture degrading in New Zealand. Like I said, I traveled around North Island. I don't think I saw a single All Blacks flag anywhere. Whereas in the South Island, I've seen a few. I actually don't think I saw one All Blacks flag. Tauranga, I think. I saw one, but it's very, like, you know, you figured it would be everywhere, especially Splinter's Little Cup weekend, but no. The degrading of culture then. It's quite a big issue. So also there was a lot of talk in New Zealand rugby. You know, the new guy came in, did not really change from, you know, did not really change much from the old minds. In fact, he's become more conservative. There were some talks about locking down this guy. This guy's literally going to break this try scoring record in New Zealand rugby, in Super Rugby, all-time Super Rugby, and he's still got, you know, a couple rounds left, and the finals coming up. He's already leveled in score, I think 18 in try scored in the season. Is absolutely outstanding. Fihi Fainga Anofo. And then there was some talks about, you know, locking him down, buying out his contract. He's going to Europe, buying out his contract. And then the New Zealand rugby guy, Lancaster, was just like, nope, that's not something that we do. Because, you know, chopping down the top poppy is what we do here. We don't want it to encourage players to stay. So now New Zealand rugby is having a problem. Like, if you go back to the financial problem as well, their player cost is going up, and then it's still not enough to compete in overseas. That's the biggest problem. So if the New Zealand rugby has a salary cap, and essentially a Super Rugby level, the maximum you're going to be able to get is about 200,000. And then if you play the NPC, you can get up to another 50, 60,000. So if you're a Super Rugby player who don't play for the All Blacks, 250,000 New Zealand dollars is probably the maximum you're going to be able to earn. And if you go overseas, you can easily earn, like, you know, 300,000 pound, and that's basically like 600,000 New Zealand dollars, right? Like, you know, Fihi is probably going to be earning 200,000, including the NPC appearances. You know, so he goes overseas, immediately triples his money. Like, why not? Why not, right? New Zealand rugby just can't keep up with that. And if you play for the All Blacks, it goes up to, like, you know, the All Blacks, you get like a weekly retainer, which is about $8,000. I don't know, don't quote me. I think around $8,000. So every week you be with the All Blacks, you get a payment, and then I think you get extras if you actually been picked for the game. So you could get another, like, maybe 200,000 on top. So you could be earning like $500,000. You know, in the bottom range as an average All Black player. Obviously, Bolden Barrett gets more than that. It can get like up to like $1 million. For the very, very top players, or New Zealand rugby pay even more. But yeah, that's kind of like the mask you're looking at. Whereas if you go overseas, you don't even have to play for the All Blacks. You already just been getting, you know, 600,000 New Zealand dollars effectively immediately, more than the All Blacks you'll be getting if you're playing for the All Blacks, right? So the whole business model of New Zealand rugby just does not work financially. It's just not really working. And also, obviously, New Zealand rugby, even Kieran Reid has come out echoing what I said last week, the situation with Richie Mo'unga. You make the rules, right? But, you know, Kieran Reid pointed this out. New Zealand rugby makes the rules, and they've changed it in the past, and they've decided, nah, we're going to stick it to it this time and just make sure the top poppy is completely bashed down. Nobody goes overseas because, you know, a black jersey and a dream is really what they want you to live for, right? Like, you know, the dream of a black jersey, and forget about your finances, and just, yeah, it's not a sustainable game plan. And New Zealand rugby signed a partnership with Touch Rugby, Touch in New Zealand rugby, which I think is fine. But, you know, I thought they will probably, yeah, it's fine. I in my opinion, they should come up with a different competition than Touch Rugby. Something like, you know, forwards rugby or something, right? And you just play rucks, mauls, and scrums, and no running, no passing, right? Something like that will be really, really fun, instead of effectively playing touch rugby, which is effectively rugby league. But anyway, Super Rugby, a bit of an interesting thing, actually, I missed last week. Just want to catch up. So I was thinking that the Reds could get knocked out of the top seats for the Waratahs, but it turns out it's the Crusaders that is most likely to get knocked out, because they have Chiefs and Hurricanes coming for the final 2 matches, although at home, but if Chiefs and Hurricanes, especially the Hurricanes, are pretty top 2 teams in the ladder. So if they don't win at least one of the 2 games, they might end up getting knocked out. If the Waratahs can win, a couple games against the Brumbies, and what is it, Mono Pacifica, I think, or Western Force could potentially knock them out as well, like beating the So if the Waratahs beats the Brumbies and the Western Force, or if the Western Force beats the Jura and the Waratahs, they could actually get ahead of the Crusaders if they don't win any games. So that's something to look out for. Speaking of the Western Force, just wanted to point out there's a bit of a charity jersey. It's the last weekend's red jersey. The Western Force wore red against the Reds because it was for charity for mental health. And I wanted to buy the jerseys, and it was just like, when I first checked, it was like $200. It's got shot up to like 1,000 essentially. But you can see the prices here. If you're interested, go bid it up. If just make sure, Twiggy, pay as much as you can for a Lomax jersey. Oh, this is Tazano jersey. Tazano's the most famous one. But I just want to point out a little bit of a scam that's going on around here. And I think Western Force needs, if anybody watching from Western Force needs to address this. This is a clear scam because it says it's shipped from Amsterdam. And as a result of being shipping from Amsterdam, the shipping cost is like almost $53 because it's shipped from Amsterdam. Right? I don't know if you guys can see this. It says ship from Amsterdam. Like, there's no way. There's no way. It's shipping in from Perth. There's no way they've shipped this to Amsterdam and then sending it back. No way. No way. This is just a scam. This is 100% a scam. Like, come on, Western Force. Come on, Western Force. Like, this is an absolute scam. You can fix this up. I know it's for charity, but you're absolutely scamming people with the shipping costs here. So, yeah. Anyway, just want to point that out. So, bad news for a lot of New Zealand fans. Tangitau, one of the most best players, upcoming prospect for the All Blacks, had an Achilles injury. Turns out on the weekend, and Achilles injuries generally 4 to 6 months, according to the AI overview. Could be even 9 to 12 months, depends on the. So 9 to 12 months. This is pretty bad. 4 to 6 months to heal to daily activities and light exercise. 9 to 12 months to take full rehabilitation to be able to play rugby again. So yeah, that's pretty bad. So he just like rolled his foot essentially and broke his Achilles, and that's horrendous. Ruptured his Achilles, that is really, really horrendous. He did a really good play on the weekend as well. Step Joseph Swali'i, and 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? But yeah, it is a bit disappointing that he's out 2 weeks ago. But that is not a good news for All Blacks. Swali'i once again tight hamstring last week before the Fiji game. Still not able to play this week. Really, really disappointing because the hamstring has been a problem for him all season at this point. So yeah, here's the Waratahs team to play against the dirty Brumbies this weekend. By the way, the Rugby World Cup is up for display at Allianz Stadium here for the game, and the tickets are actually selling quite well. I had a look, and it's like there's a lot of tickets being sold this game, so it's going to be a big turnout. And the Rugby World Cup will be on display, and after the game, you're allowed to walk onto the field apparently. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But the Waratahs going to be able to put up a big fight to be able to stay in the top 5 for the top 6. So we got Jack Barrett comes in number 1, Ioane Moananu comes in number 2, Daniel Botha number 3, Botia, is it Botha? Is it no? What is it? How does it say? Boita, I think it's pronounced Boita. Dan Boita comes in number 3, Matt Phillip number 4, Miles Amatasero comes in number 5, Clem Halaholo number 6, Charlie Gamble number 7, Angus Scott down moves to number 8. Teddy Wilson comes in number 9. Jack Bowen, who did really well against Fiji and Honduras last week, comes in number 10. Sid Harvey, number 11. Lawson Crichton, number 12. Tristan Riley, number 13. Harry Porter was big return last week as well. Comes in number 14. And Max Jorgensen finished up number 15. On the replacements, Oniti Finau comes in number 16. Isaac Kalea, number 17. Apollosi Ranawai. I think he scored 2 tries so far this season already. His only debut like 2 weeks ago. Comes in number 18. Ben Grant comes in number 19. Jamie Adamson, number 20. Michael McDonald comes in number 21. Jack DeBrasini, number 22. And Joey Walton finish up at number 23. For the Brumbies, Alan Alatoa, his 150th game for the Brumbies will be playing this weekend. So let's go through, have a look. We've got the veteran, the big dog, James Slipper, still breaking those records, comes in number 1. Billy Pollard comes in number 2. Alan Alatoa, number 3. Caden Neville, number 4. Lockie Shaw, number 5. Rob Valentini, number 6. Rory Scott, Little Poey, comes in number 7. Toby McPherson comes in number 8. Ryan Lonergan, number 9. Declay Meredith, number 10. Corey Tour, number 11. David Philly Wai comes in number 12. Caden Pritchard, number 13. Ollie Sapsford, number 14. And Tom Wright. Can't wait to get a photo with Tom Wright. Comes in number 15. Replacement, we've got Lockie Lonergan. Blake Scooby, number 17. Reese Van Neck, number 18. Nick Frost, number 19 on the bench. Luke Reimer, number 20. Clayton Thorne, number 21. Tate Edmund, number 22. And Andy Muirhead. It's pretty stacked on the bench for the Brumbies. Comes in at number 23. For the Reds, the big return for McDermott this weekend against Moana Pacifica. And I think there might be an upset here for Moana Pacifica because it's the final game at home, final game ever for the club. So potentially, there's some talks there. Oh, by the way, Moana Pacifica, there's some lawsuit going on between Rugby Australia and Melbourne Rebels. There was some talks that Rebels was going to merge with the Moana Pacifica. That could potentially still happen at some point. But I just don't think Rugby Australia wants to bring back the horrendous management at Melbourne Rebels. So I don't think they want to do that at all. So even if there's going to be a merge and bring back a team in Victoria, I think it's going to be a clean slate with a different team, not with the current Rebels and its management. Tom Liner has re-signed with Rugby Australia to 2027 next year. We've got Will Jordan back for the Crusaders, which is why I think that this could be an upset this weekend. The Crusaders always build towards the finals, and they're going to be playing against the Chiefs, who has an injury to Damian McKenzie. There was some talks about, obviously with Damian McKenzie injured, there was some talks about Josh Jacomb potentially replacing Bowden Barrett for the All Blacks 10 jersey. Come on, guys. If Ruben Love don't get the All Blacks jersey, starting jersey at number 10, what are we even doing? What are we even doing here? Anyway, so Premiership Rugby, I don't know what's that about. See, oh yeah, so there was some talks. I've talked about this before, the bonus point problems, but we're not going to talk about this. So the Premiership Rugby has the Six Nation bonus point system where if you score 4 tries, you get a bonus point, win, lose, or draw. And that's been basically a bit of an issue at the moment that the winning team just kind of like let the losing team score a bunch of tries that kind of like ruins the game a little bit. I did watch one game, actually not one game, half a game on the weekend. That was the Harlequin versus the Chiefs to watch Len Ikitau play. And he got the ball literally one time in the first half and he scored. And then one of the Harlequin players just dropped his knees onto Ikitau's legs, and it looked like Ikitau got hurt. I mean, that looked like a red card for me. Like it was like, oh, that was an accident, but I thought that was pretty bad. He dropped it, but Ikitau luckily was not hurt. And it looked like the Chiefs was going to just dominate the Harlequins easily. And I stopped watching because I was like, this is going to be a one-sided affair. And then Harlequins somehow pulled themselves, a massive comeback second half to win the game. So the Exeter Chiefs did not score a single point in the second half. Absolutely dominated. So that was crazy, crazy game. And finally, Israel Folau. His contract is running out in Japan, and there's no talks of where he's going to be going next. Maybe you go to the Melbourne Rebels. Who knows? And anyway, thanks for watching this video. Like and comment, subscribe. 39 minutes. My goodness, I have to chop this one down a little bit. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you guys for the reviews. Cheers.